In the quiet outskirts of Cebu City, where the evening breeze carried the faint smell of sea salt and jeepneys rattled in the distance, stood a small, aging orphanage called Bahay Pag-asa. Its walls were faded, its roof complained during every rainfall, and its playground had only one rusty swing left. Yet inside this worn-down building lived moments of warmth that money could never buy. One rainy morning, more than a decade ago, Sister Maricel opened the orphanage gate to find a basket wrapped in a thin blue blanket. Inside were two fragile babies, a boy and a girl, each with soft round faces, tiny hands, and gentle almond-shaped eyes that revealed their Down syndrome even before the note tied to their basket did. "We cannot take care of them," the note said. "Please give them a life we cannot." She held the twins close, shielding them from the rain, whispering, "Liam, Liana, you are safe now." As the years passed, the twins grew into inseparable children. Liam barely spoke but expressed everything with his hands and eyes, while Liana communicated through soft hums and delighted squeals. They were misunderstood by many, yet understood completely by each other. Their world was small, a courtyard, a shared room, and a dusty storage room where old donations were kept. But within that small world, something extraordinary waited to be discovered. One afternoon, as sunlight slipped through the cracked windows, Sister Maricel heard a strange sound from the storage room. It wasn't crying, nor fighting, nor the usual chaos of children. It was a single piano note, soft, hesitant, like a question. She walked slowly, unsure if she was imagining it. When she pushed the door open, she froze. There was Liam, barely 7 years old, sitting on an uneven wooden stool, pressing one key on an old, out-of-tune piano. The piano had been donated years ago, forgotten, its paint peeling and several keys missing. But Liam wasn't bothered. He pressed the same key again. Then another. His eyebrows furrowed, as if searching for something only he could hear. Beside him, Liana found a tiny violin with a broken string and a bow so frayed it looked unusable. Yet she held it like it was something precious. When Liam played a note, she tried to pull the bow across the violin. It squeaked terribly, but her smile was wide and proud. Sister Maricel watched quietly as the twins continued, unaware of her presence. Liam played another note, slightly louder, slightly clearer, and Liana followed, her violin responding like an echo. Their rhythm was messy, their timing uneven, their tones mismatched. But within that chaos, there was something pure, something beautiful, something that didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like a connection. The next day, when the other children played outside, the twins snuck back into the storage room again. Liam tapped the piano keys with growing curiosity, and Liana mirrored him, trying to match the sounds. They laughed when they failed and clapped when a note accidentally fit. Music became their secret language, a language the world denied them, but they created anyway. Sister Maricel cleaned the piano, fixed the violin with tape, and placed the instruments near a window where sunlight could reach them. She never interrupted the twins. She simply watched them grow into their gift, like two flowers blooming through concrete. Little by little, the orphanage was no longer filled only with the noise of children. It carried a softer, deeper sound, imperfect melodies born from small hands with big hearts. And though no one knew it yet, this tiny room in Cebu City was the beginning of a miracle that would one day shake the world. The day of the AGT Manila audition arrived with the kind of heat that wrapped the entire city like a thick blanket. People lined up outside the convention center, carrying dreams as heavy as the humidity. The air buzzed with nervous chatter, thumping music from speakers, and the constant shuffle of hopeful contestants rehearsing their last-minute notes. For most performers, this was their biggest day. For Liam and Liana, it was the first time they were stepping outside Cebu City. They clung to Sister Maricel's hands as if she were their anchor. Liam's eyes darted around anxiously, overwhelmed by the bright screens, flashing lights, and loud announcements. Liana held her violin close to her chest like a stuffed toy, gently rubbing her thumb on its neck to comfort herself. People stared at them, not unkindly, but with the curious eyes that often followed children who were different. The twins didn't seem to notice. They were focused on one another, communicating silently the way they always had. Backstage was a whirlwind. Contestants practiced dances, vocalists warmed up, and stagehands rushed past with cables and microphones. A producer knelt down to speak gently to the twins, preparing them for what was about to happen. "Just walk to the X, look at the judges, and do what you love," she said with a kind smile. Liam nodded slowly, gripping the sleeves of his shirt. Liana offered a tiny smile, her fingers tapping a silent beat on her violin. When their group was called, the twins followed Sister Maricel through the narrow hallway that led to the stage entrance. The doors opened, releasing a burst of cold air from the studio lights and audience fans. The sound of hundreds of murmuring people washed over them. Liam took one step back, but Liana tugged his hand gently, reminding him that they always did everything together. The twins stepped onto the huge AGT stage. The bright X's on the floor glowed like stars guiding them where to stand. The crowd quieted immediately. Their innocence created a sudden hush that even the producers didn't expect. Behind the judges' table, Simon Cowell leaned forward, studying the pair with cautious curiosity. To his right, the other judges exchanged soft glances, unsure what kind of performance two young Filipino twins with Down syndrome were about to give. Simon adjusted his microphone and asked gently, "Hello there. What are your names?" The twins froze. They didn't speak. Sister Maricel stepped in. "This is Liam and Liana. They communicate more with music than words. They're from Cebu City." The audience murmured. Simon's expression softened, the way it did only when he sensed something genuine was about to happen. "All right," he said quietly. "We'd love to hear what they want to share." A stagehand helped Liam sit at the piano. His hands shook so much that he wiped them on his trousers. Liana lifted her violin, her bow trembling, her breaths short and uneven. They looked at each other. Liam blinked twice, the signal they'd used since childhood. Liana lifted her chin, steadying her bow. The theater grew still. Simon folded his hands. Liam pressed the first piano key. A soft, quivering note drifted into the air. Then another. And another. Liana followed, her violin answering like a gentle echo. Their music wavered at first, but with each passing second, their confidence grew. Notes climbed, dipped, intertwined. The melody was simple, yet full of a raw, aching beauty that came from every broken piece of their past. By the time they reached the middle of their piece, the audience was silent, many with tears in their eyes. Even Simon. What started as a frightened performance was slowly becoming a moment that no one in the theater would ever forget. The final note of Liana's violin hovered in the air like a fragile bird unsure whether to land or keep flying. For a brief, breathless moment, the entire AGT arena was silent, a silence so complete that even the cameras waiting to zoom in seemed to hesitate. Liam's fingers, still resting on the piano keys, trembled. Liana lowered her bow slowly, her chest rising and falling as she tried to catch her breath. They looked at each other, their eyes asking the same question they had asked their whole lives: did we do okay? The answer came like thunder. A single clap echoed from somewhere in the back row. Then another. Then the entire arena exploded into applause, loud, powerful, uncontrollable. People rose from their seats so quickly that chairs scraped against the floor. Some audience members clutched their chests, overwhelmed. Others wiped their eyes, unable to stop the tears. A little girl on her father's shoulders shouted, "They're angels." But it was the judges' table that held the most emotion. Simon Cowell, a man known for his impossible standards, did not move for several seconds. His eyes were locked on the twins with a softness rarely seen on his face. He swallowed hard, blinked, and stood up slowly. The crowd roared even louder when they saw him rise, because everyone understood what it meant when Simon stood up first. Liam noticed Simon standing and covered his ears at the sudden noise. The lights felt too bright. The clapping too loud. Liana quickly took his hand, grounding him the way she always did. She whispered something only he could understand, and his breathing steadied. Simon leaned into the microphone, his voice surprisingly gentle. Liam. Liana, he paused, searching for words big enough to match the moment. You didn't just play music. You told the world who you are. And you reminded all of us why we fell in love with talent shows in the first place. The audience cheered again. Liana smiled through trembling lips, and Liam buried his face against the piano for a moment, overwhelmed but safe. Another judge wiped her eyes, saying, "There are performers, and then there are miracles. Today, you were miracles." Sister Maricel, standing off stage, pressed a hand to her mouth. She had always believed the twins had something extraordinary inside them, but watching the world see it too was almost too much for her heart to handle. Tears rolled freely down her cheeks. Simon stepped back from the microphone. And then he did something unexpected. He looked directly at the button in front of him. The crowd sensed it instantly. A wave of anticipation rushed through the arena. Phones shot up, ready to record the moment. The other judges stared at him, eyebrows raised. Simon pressed both hands on the table, leaned forward, and with a small smile said, "This is what the golden buzzer was made for." His hand slammed down. In an instant, the world became gold. Confetti burst from the ceiling like a golden waterfall, shimmering under the bright studio lights. It rained over the twins, landing in their hair, their clothes, even on Liam's piano keys. Liam squealed, half frightened, half fascinated, while Liana threw her head back and laughed, letting the gold settle on her face. Sister Maricel rushed onto the stage, pulling the twins into her arms. The three of them hugged tightly, surrounded by a storm of gold, cameras flashing, and thousands cheering. Liam pressed his cheek against her shoulder, whispering soft sounds of relief. Liana clung to her, shaking with joyful sobs. For the first time in their lives, the twins weren't abandoned, forgotten, or misunderstood. They were celebrated. Seen. Loved. And as the golden confetti continued to fall, the world witnessed a truth brighter than the lights themselves. These two children from Cebu City, once left at a doorstep with nothing, had just changed everything.